I'm storing. Am I the old hoe for shouting at my ex in front of my daughters? I have three girls, 8, 10, and 12. Their mother walked out on us for another man when our youngest was around 4. My ex still stays in contact, though, and pays child support. Our home has become a sanctuary of love and understanding over the years. Between teaching kindergarten during the day and managing our household in the evenings, I've learned to create stability in the chaos. The walls of our modest house are covered with their artwork, medals from gymnastics meets, and photos from piano recitals, moments their mother has consistently missed. A few weeks ago, while doing laundry, I saw red spots on my oldest underwear. I asked her if she knew about it, and she cried and told me she tried to call her mom, but my ex didn't call back. She'd been stuffing toilet paper in her underwear, hoping that would work. The sight of her tears broke my heart. The fear in her eyes reminded me of how young and vulnerable she still was, despite her growing independence. I explained to her that periods are nothing to be ashamed of and found some great resources online for us to review together. I took her to the store to pick out brands of feminine products she wanted to use. She picked Playtex Sport because she's a gymnast. The pride in her eyes when she made her own informed choice made every awkward moment worth it. After we were done, I decided I should do the same thing with my other two. My 12-year-old volunteered to be part of preparing them, and we made a whole night of it. It was wonderful, and I learned a lot. I even learned what a menstrual cup is and how they benefit the environment. That evening of open discussion transformed what could have been a frightening experience into a moment of frightening bonding. The other day, my ex called back. I'll usually arrange a video chat and leave the room so they can have some alone time, and when they're done chatting, I'll come back in to talk boring co-parenting stuff like school, bills, etc. The familiar routine of these calls had become a delicate balance of maintaining peace for our girls' sake. This last time my ex was furious with me for talking about periods with the girls. She shouted at me that I was sick and perverted. Why didn't I call her myself if I knew it was so urgent? I could have called one of their grandmas/aunts, but my mama has dementia. While her mom and sisters call me a loser because I teach kindergarten, so I'm not fond of them. Her words hit like physical blows, each accusation more venomous than the last. My ex told me I was being immature and should have just toughed it out for the girls. This really pissed me off, so I shouted back that maybe if she wasn't such a deadbeat and answered her goddamn phone once in a while, she could have handled this. Years of bottled frustration erupted as I brought up everything she does that hurts them. She hasn't been to a single soccer game, piano recital, or gymnastics meet in 2 years. Every other weekend, when they come home from her house, they go straight to their rooms, only to emerge hours later asking me why she loves her new husband more than them and what did they do to make her leave. My ex responded by saying I should tell them it's not their fault I couldn't satisfy her, and I screamed, "Fuck you," and she just smirked and pointed behind me, saying, "Look what you did." The malice in her smile made my blood run cold. When I turned around, my 8-yo and 10-yo were standing in the doorway crying. It broke my heart. I never shout, so I know I scared them. My 12-yo stormed in and started screaming at her mom, and while I appreciate her sticking up for me, this is not a battle I want her fighting. My ex hung up before I could fully de-escalate the situation, and let's just say the girls have been given free reign of the ice cream and limitless hours of video games, because I feel so bad. I even watched all the Twilight movies with them, so don't say I don't love them. The aftermath of that call hangs heavy in our home, despite the ice cream and vampire movies. The sound of their tears echoes in my mind, the stark reminder of how quickly anger can shatter the peace we've worked so hard to build. Hey, am I the hole or not? Comment 1, not the a-hole. I'm disturbed that your ex-wife thinks it's not your place to talk about menstruation with your own kids, so I'm glad you broke that toxic thought process with your own kids. Good luck. Your ex-wife sounds like the devil that wanted to push your buttons to let your kids see you get heated sometimes. She's toxic, and I'm glad your kids have a chance at life with a good parent. Comment 2, not the AHHO. Okay, you should maybe have stopped the conversation when you found it getting out of hand. But She knew exactly what she was doing. She saw the kids behind you and didn't warn you, deliberately. So, she saw the kids behind you, didn't warn you. And so she's equally responsible for exposing them to the shouting. She sounds like a terrible mother, and you sound like a great dad. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with a dad talking to daughters about their body as long as they are comfortable with the conversation. My dear old dad had three daughters only a year apart, and we all ended up syncing our periods. He knew exactly what each of us preferred, and every month would leave a big bag of sanitary products and chocolate bars in our rooms. Story. Am I the hook for ruining both my parents' marriages, for disowning me? I am the byproduct of my parents' extramarital affair. Both of them had spouses at the time. My birth mother got pregnant and had to tell her husband as he was overseas when I was conceived, so there was no way I was his. A few months after I was born, they decided not to divorce. I was given to my grandparents on my mother's side to raise, with my birth father secretly paying child support without his wife's knowledge. Growing up with my grandparents, I lived in a constant state of carefully constructed lies. Every birthday, every holiday, every school event was colored by the knowledge that my real parents were out there, living their separate lives with their legitimate families. My grandparents did their best, showering me with love and attention, but the weight of being the family secret never truly lifted from my shoulders. Both my parents had other children. My dad's side knows nothing about me, but my siblings on my mom's side were told that I'm adopted by my grandparents. The siblings on my mother's side would visit occasionally, treating me like a distant cousin rather than a brother. Their awkward smiles and careful conversations revealed their discomfort with the situation, though none of us ever addressed it directly. Recently, I decided that I wanted to know more about my dad's family, and I sent a friend's request to one of my siblings and my dad so I could get to know him. The desire to connect with my unknown family had grown overwhelming, like a physical ache in my chest that wouldn't subside. Social media made it so easy. Their lives were right there, displayed in countless photos of family gatherings I'd never attended, celebrations I'd missed, bonds I'd never formed. Their response came swiftly. My father freaked out and contacted my birth mom, and they asked to speak to me over Skype. They both told me that they couldn't risk staying in contact with me and told me that they were going no contact and to please respect and move on with my life. Their faces on the screen showed no remorse, no acknowledgement of the years of rejection and isolation they'd imposed on me. The rejection ignited something dark within me. Years of suppressed anger and hurt transformed into a cold determination. Well, I did pretty much the opposite of what they asked. I contacted my dad's wife and shared screenshots of our conversations and told her everything. Each message I sent felt like releasing a poison that had been festering inside me for decades. The aftermath was swift and devastating. My father's wife is now divorcing him, while on my mother's side, I told both my siblings, who then went on to tell extended family, including her husband's side, so now they're separated, and my siblings hate my mother. The carefully constructed house of lies came crashing down around them, leaving destruction in its wake. Their comfortable lives shattered like mirrors, reflecting back the ugly truth they'd tried so hard to hide. Currently, my siblings on both sides lives have been upturned, and after the satisfaction has worn off, I feel like I unnecessarily hurt them through my parents. The initial rush of vindication has faded, leaving behind a hollow feeling in my chest. The ripples of my actions continue to spread through both families. What was once a carefully guarded secret has become an open wound, affecting not just my parents, but all their children, my half-siblings who never asked to be part of this complicated web of deceit. Their anger, confusion, and pain weigh heavily on my conscience now that the dust has begun to settle. Am I the all or not? Comment 1, not the whole. You didn't ruin anything. They did. Your birth parents have been and continue to be completely selfish arseholes, and everyone deserved to see who they really were. The only people who up in anyone's lives are your parents. You do not deserve to be told to go away or hidden. Comment 2, not the asshole. Your parents are fucking selfish. So many other options for them instead of just pretending like you don't exist. If you don't want your spouse to find out you cheated, how about not ducking cheating? All you wanted was a little contact with family. They rejected you. Well, they don't get to choose whether your half sisters and brothers want to know you or not. Maybe sharing screenshots was not the right way to go, but honestly, if you keep such a huge secret from your spouse, you deserve to get found out eventually. Story: Am I the a-hole for throwing them out of a house that we own? Son and future in laws decide to exclude his family from wedding. They thought son owned the house, not us. My wife and I bought a 4-bedroom house in PA that my son lives in. Our son went to college in PA and wanted to stay in the area. And we bought the house as a second home. We live in NJ and we commute into Manhattan for work. We figured that he would have a place to live and we could visit every so often and spend some quality time together. The house became our sanctuary for family gatherings, weekend brunches in the spacious kitchen, holiday celebrations in the cozy living room, and summer evenings spent on the wraparound porch. Every corner held memories of laughter and togetherness, making the 2-hour drive from New Jersey worth every minute. We pay the taxes and services / maintenance on the house. Our son pays for his groceries and the house utilities. All was going well for a few years. Our son meets a girl and they get serious. We met her and she seems nice enough. They announce their engagement and she moves into the house with our son. That's when everything changed. The subtle shift began with fewer invitations to visit, calls becoming shorter, and our son's voice carrying an edge of distance we'd never heard before. Now for the problem, the wedding. We hold a little get to know you BBQ at the PA house. You know, my son and daughter are there, as are our son's fiance and her parents and sisters. The late summer air filled with the scent of grilled food and the sound of polite conversation. Everything seemed perfect on the surface, the kind of day parents dream about when imagining their children's future. The facade cracked when my wife, daughter, and the fiance go into the house along with her mother and sisters and my son. A few minutes later, my wife and daughter come out and are really upset. Their faces have gone pale, hands trembling as they gathered their things. They come over and tell me we're leaving and driving back to NJ. The 2-hour drive home was filled with heavy silence. Once we get back to NJ and they calm down, they tell me that our son and his fiancée, along with her family, don't want us at the wedding. According to what I was told, we're not their kind of people. The words felt like physical blows, each syllable a knife twisting deeper into my heart. I was livid. I called my son and asked him WTH this was about. He tells me that her family feel that we are not good enough and will embarrass them at a family wedding and that we are all uninvited from the wedding. His voice held no trace of the boy we'd raised, replaced by a cold stranger's tone. I let a week go by to calm myself down and drive back to the PA house. The new future in-laws are in the house along with the fiance. It appears that they all moved into the house. The home we'd created for our son had been invaded, our family photos replaced, our memories erased. They asked me why I'm there. I tell them that since we aren't invited to the wedding, I was coming over to talk to my son. They tell me to leave their house. The audacity of their claim ignited something primal within me. I lost it and told them that they had 30 days to get out. And tell my son I'm selling the house and he could find somewhere else to live with all of you. My words echoed through the rooms where we'd once shared so many happy moments. I go to a realtor in town and list the house for sale. The decision felt final, like closing a chapter of our lives we'd never be able to reopen. They call my son at work and tell him what I said. Apparently they thought that he owned the house. He calls me and asks why I'm selling his house. I tell him I paid for it along with the taxes on it, and it is mine. He was living there rent-free, but since he doesn't want us in his new life, he has to get out. I tell him the same as I told his future in-laws. They have 30 days to get out, then I'll get a lawyer and get them evicted. The reality of his choices seems to be sinking in now, but the damage feels irreparable. Every photo album, every holiday memory, every moment we shared in that house has been tainted by this betrayal. Am I the a-hole or not? Comment one's not the a-hole. I actually find it hilarious. He is so entitled to the house he didn't even expect it to take it back after his actions. I believe this is exactly the reality check he needed. Comment 2, not the whole neck of business, but the entire body and foot and head is that sacred to me. Not the whole lawyer in 30 days. You need one now. I am not familiar with PA tenant laws, etc., but you need to follow everything by the book so that can't contest anything. I would also go back and videotape with timestamp the entire property inside and out so they can be held accountable for any damage done.